Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Week of Action. Today is our last day of the Week of Action, day 7. This week, we have been celebrating innovators from all over the world, and we have particularly been highlighting their actions for climate. This week, we have showcased anything from ideas to big startups that are out there doing a change in the world to limit climate change. During the Week of Action, we have particularly have put attention to the role of youth and how we can encourage youth to take the path of action. Today, we are going to be talking about our Young Innovators program, and I have 3 special guests for you that are going to be deepening into what does it mean to mobilize youth and to work with youth. And well, I just want to remind you that your hashtag for today is Destination 1.5. And this is the hashtag that we have been using throughout the week ahead of the UN Climate Conference that is starting tomorrow. We can see that there is a lot of movement out there in Glasgow, and people are gathering to hopefully strike a new deal for climate. Let me start introducing you my guest for today. Luise, Gonza, Salvatore, are you with us?
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you this morning?
Fine.
Good.
Thank you.
Perfect. I would like to hear about who you are, where you are based, and what is your role in this discussion of engaging youth for climate action. I will start with Luise.
Thanks, Sam, for giving me the floor. So my name is Luisa Heidenreich. I am working with EIT Climate-KIC. I am the co-head of education and learning and a strategic programs orchestrator, focusing on our education and also activation programs. We're running a suite of programs, acceleration programs. You heard a lot about this already this week, the activation programs and a range of education programs. And I was one of the co-designers of the Young Innovators program, one of our youngest programs in Climate-KIC, focusing on youth and teachers.
Gonza, what about you? Where are you joining us from today?
Good morning. I'm joining you from Malta. I am working as a senior research officer at Malta College of Arts, Science and Technology. In short, we call MCAST. And it is the pioneering vocational educational institute and higher education institute in Malta. And we are also running the EIT Climate-KIC hub in Malta and the strategic programs which are aligned with our country's strategic climate change actions. And that's it.
Thank you, Gonza. What about you, Salvatore? Where are you joining us from today?
I'm basically located in Italy at the moment, but I'm affiliated with the University of Helsinki in Finland, where I'm a researcher in the field of sustainability transitions. So I study these long processes of transformation, societal transformation towards sustainability. And I'm also associated with Aalto University, another Finnish university, where I'm running a project on how to engage youth, how to innovate sustainability education for secondary schools, together with EIT Climate-KIC.
That's really interesting, Salvatore. We are going to be hearing more about that in a few minutes. But first, I would like to ask you all, why are we working with youth? Why should we focus on youth right now to actually try to bring climate action in the world? I would like to hear first from Luise.
Thanks, Sam. So we all know that today, youth, kind of our next generation, will be the generation affected most by climate change. They will need to adapt and design their lives to help combat climate change in an even kind of bigger scale than we have to do this now. We also know that youth kind of has a lot of creativity and potential to really help shape the climate crisis ahead of us. And we know that they are going to the streets. So the question is, what can we do? We, our community of partners, can do to help give them a voice, to help shape their skills, to make them future ready, to really help shape the system. And this also means that we have to do this inside schools, but also in informal learning. And this means then also that we have to equip not only our students, but also our educators and teachers with the necessary skills to support them on their way to help shape climate action.
Thank you, Luise. Gonza, why do you think we should work with youth? Why is it particularly important in Malta?
In countries, in countries like risk countries, in Malta, we are one of the vulnerable countries in EU, which has been affected by climate change heavily, and we also lack this holistic approach when engaging youth, because we are lacking talent in the upcoming green skills gap. And also we have a very ambitious strategy lying ahead of us, which is our low carbon development strategy. And we really need youth to collaborate. And not only this comes from a leadership point of view, but it's also our youth demands not only being heard, but also to be listened. And we need to facilitate and orchestrate all these issues and come up with infrastructures ready for them to engage with climate change actions. So therefore, we have actually closely collaborating with our ministries, Ministry for Environment and Environment, Climate Change and Planning, and also Ministry for Education with their Sustainable Development Education Unit, to realize this through Young Innovators programs and the tools that are available. We will talk about this more, but I think this is a very crucial step to equip youth and our teachers, as Luisa righteously mentioned.
Thank you, Gonza. Salvatore, could you tell us why have you dedicated time of your research to explore engaging youth?
Yes. Well, I would say that there is also a question of intergenerational justice. This generation will basically face, unfortunately, the worst of climate change towards the mid of the century. And I think it's a matter of justice. And it's also a matter of governance, more inclusive governance. So we need new governance models which will be able to take on board new stakeholders, which so far actually have not been having a role. So before the climate strikes, we have seen over the last 2 years, this generation has really not been heard. And that is a matter of justice, is a matter of more effective governance. And I also think it's a matter of equipping the next generation with the set of skills and competencies that are required to take action. So we need to equip this generation to be, leaders, and that's our goal as researchers and as people who have an interest in the future of our young people and society.
Thank you, Salvatore. We are going to deepen more into what you have found out in your research. I hear a lot of words of justice, skills, green skills, future generation capabilities, empowering the citizens of this, all the citizens of this planet, basically. Luise, what are we concretely doing about it? Can you give me an example of how we manage that empowerment?
Yes, sure. So the program has been designed with our partners and with teachers, and everything has been tested and piloted in schools with students. So we really shaped the program with a range of stakeholders. And we based all of the basis of the program, or the core methodology, is around systems innovation. And we have designed a lot of visual tools to make this more appealing for students and easy to work on, designing or analyzing systems, looking at the various stakeholders in systems, looking at the root causes of the problem, to then really come up with solutions focusing on concrete challenges. So it's a challenge-led program that can be adapted to various contexts. And we do this by equipping. The program is run by multiple partners across the world, and they are training teachers to become kind of these role models in the classroom, and to help then to run workshops inside schools, but also outside. So it's the teacher training that is core of the program, and then challenge-led workshops in schools, where externals can be cities, municipalities, corporates, but also the school themselves come in kind of to introduce a challenge and then have students work on that concrete challenge. It can also be that the students come up themselves with a concrete challenge they wanna focus on, and they are then working with these canvases, to really mapping the challenge from various angles, as I mentioned before. And then another kind of core and the heart of the program is the Young Climate-thon, where students from a school or multiple schools come together to work on 1, 2, or 3 concrete challenges a city has. That's the Young Climate-thon. You heard about this. Many are happening this week and also in November. So it's really a celebration. It's a hackathon, but students are then also celebrating working on this challenge and coming up with solutions that they then share with other students around the world. For those teams that want to continue working on this challenge, there's the opportunity being mentored and this is kind of what Gonza said, being taken seriously and being listened to by these challenge providers. So that's really an important part of the program, that the solutions that these students are coming up with can be taken into account or are taken into account by the local municipalities or by the school, and can then kind of be realized. So this kind of tapping, as I said also earlier, into the imagination and creativity of students, but then on the other side, being listened to is very, very important. So these are, you mentioned kind of, you were asking about the skills that are and competencies that are needed. It's really this creativity, critical thinking, communication skills is also very important. This peer learning. What we could also see is that sometimes the role of the teacher and the student changes. So the teacher is becoming really the listener and a mentor. So that's kind of a really interesting what's happening in schools, in the teacher-student relationship as well. But I guess our partner, so Salvatore, who is really delivering the program and has developed a module tapping into the imagination of students and really combating climate anxiety, has a bit more to say. And also Gonza, when it then comes to how is actually the ministry on board and why are they really engaging in the program? What's their aim? So I'm very, very curious to hear also from them what they have to say about this. So maybe Salvatore, you can mention a bit what the D game is about, and this kind of imagination, focus on imagination, and then later on we can hear from Gonza.
Yes, we have a pilot project running with colleagues from Polytechnic University of Catalonia and colleagues from Stantec. In this pilot project, which was actually funded by EIT Climate-KIC in 2020, is trying to innovate sustainability education in the context of secondary schools. So what we are trying to do is to reinvent the storyline of sustainability education. So you know that many environmental programs, they are focusing essentially on showing the scientific facts, the data about environmental pollution or about environmental problems. And evidence shows that this type of factual information can create anxiety, can create even resistance. So we want to apply a positive psychology approach in order to create a sense of constructive hope. This is the first goal of the D-Game project. Then we also would like to help students to strengthen their what we call psycho-emotive well-being. So it's not just about you knowing about scientific facts, understanding how systems function, but it's also about your emotional well-being. It's very important also to pay attention to values, to the set of values that support our actions. This is fundamental for the transformation that we are going to make in this decade. What sort of values are supporting our actions? So through the D game, we work a lot to truly empower students, helping them to navigate through these, sometimes even heavy emotions that are, coming with the climate crisis. We help them to discover their values, what they want to fight for, what they stand for. And we help them also to discover their talent. So how they can contribute to this process of transformation. So this is essentially what is the D game in a nutshell. It's also a project focusing a lot on co-creation. So we would like to truly put students, schools at the center of the focus. So essentially, any sustainability action should definitely start from youth. Because of those elements I mentioned in the beginning, intergenerational justice is one element, but also because there is a huge potential of untapped creativity, and we can definitely leverage on that power. And so we are conducting research about this as well. We are conducting large randomized controlled trials to understand the impact of this novel sustainability education program. And the very first results we are getting now are really interesting. So we found out, for example, that this relatively short training is able to increase self-transcendence values, which are those values which make us, so to say, less egoistic. So they make us thinking about the well-being of people around us and, of course, the planet. So this is an encouraging sign that we are on the right direction. So on the one hand, definitely, yes, we need to learn about systems, understand how systems function, but we should never lose sight of the inner dimension of sustainability, what we call the inner dimension of sustainability transformation. So the values, the attitudes, the desires, emotions of people.
Very interesting, and I would like to have a follow-up question on this before we move to Gonza. What else did you find out, and how can this then be translated into action?
Yes. Well, we have also research. The research is ongoing, so we have to wait still probably a year to publish our results. But what we see already now at this stage of the research, for example, in the case of the students, we conducted research both with the teachers as well as with with the students, right? So with the students, we found out, for example, that at least for the younger students, so those who are aged between, I would say, less than 14 years or 14 years age, we found out that self-efficacy, their perceived self-efficacy was much stronger. Now, why self-efficacy is important? It's important because it's essentially the sense of yourself in the world, how you feel you will be able to cope with the many difficulties, with the challenges around you. So enhancing self-efficacy equals to actually empowering people, empowering youth. So we have now preliminary results showing that at least for the younger students, this is working out. So this is now improving through this experimental training. So this is one of those signs that suggest that at least we are following the right direction. We also found out that essentially attitudes towards exploitation of natural resources was decreased. So essentially, students feel that we should not exploit natural resources, or at least not to the extent of not for the purpose of growing our economy. So signs that something is actually happening. Of course, we don't know in the long term how this will essentially become, consolidated behavior or behavioral patterns. But we have at least an insight now that we should definitely concentrate also on this inner dimension of transformation. It's very, very, very important because there will be a lot of anxiety, there will be a lot of tensions, and it's not just about the cognitive side, but it's truly about the emotional side, which is really the driver, what motivates people in many instances.
And Luisa, if I may, I have a follow-up question for Salvatore. What is the hypothesis that you work for? What would you like to see out there in the world after the children, the teenagers, have been part of the game, of have been part of the process in your research? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, the hypothesis essentially or the key hypothesis we're working with is that by increasing psycho-emotional well-being, we can increase also capacities, what we call action capacities or capabilities. So your skills in taking action. So many people are focusing on behavior, right? So we should adopt the right sustainable behavior. But less people concentrate on the skills that you need to develop in order to take certain actions. Okay, so there is a difference. Behavior is something that you tend to comply with, right? Here we are focusing on the skills that are needed for you to take actions or to be at least willing to take actions. And this also escapes discussions around moralizing what is right and wrong behavior, which is also a very tricky discussion. So rather than focusing on that, we want to focus on action. Also because focusing on action mobilize the collective energy of young people. So rather than trying to focus all the times on the environmental crisis we are witnessing, we want to give a positive message. We want to build a sense of constructive hope, which is not being naive, but is thinking that we can make it together. We can go through this, and this is not just something about your own individual actions, but it's about collective action. So what we can do together, and this is a very powerful motivational force that we want to leverage on, different from other programs that have been focusing on individual actions and on trying to motivate by showing the sense of urgency, the crisis that is around us. Everybody's aware of that. All scientists have been talking about these things since the 1970s. It's nothing really new to us. But what is really new is our understanding of how we can engage young people, how we can work with them. And we should definitely concentrate on a positive message, because otherwise, many people will be wondering why we should act in the first place, why we should do something about this. If we are so doomed, well, yeah, let's enjoy the last decade we are left. So I would definitely hope that this hypothesis will be taken into consideration by many other environmental programs, and many stakeholders will look onto the D game as a pilot, as an experiment that can, of course, in future, when we are able to scale up, give much more potential and opportunity for change in high school. So this would be my aspiration. I hope through the Climate-KIC network and the many people who perhaps are interested in this conversation we are having, to find many more people who would like to work with us, because it's really about this collective action we can take.
Thank you, Salvatore. This very interesting research you are doing out there. I would like to hear about how does this expresses in Malta? How are we bringing these skills, this awareness into the Maltese ecosystem? If you have some examples, if you, Gonza, can tell us about the stakeholders that you're involved with, and why is it important to get any help we can get on this quest?
Wow, it's like, thank you. It's just I'm having some goosebumps after Salvatore talk. It's actually how we bring our hearts together, and it is so important to work together and give this hope and positive message, and to skill people, but more focus on the positive skills, and how, if we work together, how we can change and how we can be impactful on the ground. So actually there is a really good story behind how we have started our piloting with Young Innovators program, because our Ministry for Environment, they have this vision of putting youth in the center for their campaign during this year, and also for the upcoming years. And the overall idea was like, when we started our discussions, like, what are the tools and how we can make sure that they can take action, how we can skill them, not only technical skills. We are not talking about, when we sometimes green skills can be considered as technical knowledge, but more than that, it was, as Luisa mentioned, critical thinking, taking action, peer learning, this challenge-led methodology, and how we can listen them and how we can make them part of the whole system. And there's also another challenge that island nations, or maybe some other nations also, maybe tackling, because not every solution out there we cannot adopt, and we need to come up with our own solutions to our own very unique needs. And this is done by the locals who are living here, and the youth that are the part of this ecosystem. So we were discussing, and then Young Innovators was a very good choice. We start our discussions with our Cyprus colleagues, and this was very much in the heart of everything, how we started. So then we thought, okay, the main stakeholder that we should bring in is, of course, the Eco Schools Network, and also Ministry for Education, because they also have a very ambitious agenda on nurturing our society and nurturing skills on sustainable development. And so that was our first stakeholder we bring on board. And then we thought, okay, yes, we are going to skill them, but how are we going to listen, and how we can make sure that what we are putting in action has a sustainable follow-up? So we thought, okay, there should be a seed green program where we can incubate these ideas further. And then there is more a professional accelerator program where we bring in, like, Climate-KIC accelerator programs into the picture. We brought in Malta Enterprise, Chamber of Commerce, even industry players, in business angels networks, NGOs, are all startups, climate activists, and we are really trying to work together to make sure that we are aligned, and we we all have something to contribute. So everything in we don't want to left them alone, okay, we are training teachers, yes, it's good, but this is again still a voluntary action. But then we are bringing them to the classrooms, and we are testing the ideas. We will have hopefully a young climathon where we are going to give visibility to these ideas, but it should not be stopped there. So there should be a mechanism supporting this initiative further, take their ideas, how we can implement them, how we can give enough funding or tools for these young minds to take them into action. So yes, Young Innovators is a very good start, very good pilot, but we also need to think of the other players of the ecosystem and make them understand why this program is crucial. So another thing, like we recently, together with the Transition Policy Lab, we did an interministerial dialogue, and youth skills was top on the agenda. So every discussion come to the bottleneck of, but yes, we really need to give priority to youth and them skilling them up and let them take action. So it's, yes, leadership is I think what matters now, and I really hope all governments around Europe will take this very seriously and take the leadership on skilling youth and this challenge-led learning, because I think it's key for everything in the future generations. Not only digital skills, but all the soft skills that we are offering them is, I think, very key. And yeah, so
Thank you,
this
Gonza.
is it.
I hear many, many interesting concepts, tackling the awareness and the sense of community and the sense of understanding oneself as a young person can be very complicated. But if we do it at an early stage, from what I learned from Salvatore, we can actually achieve some important changes. And from you, Gonza, it's super interesting the broad set of partnerships and stakeholders being implemented in Malta to take on this challenge, and that the message that I got from you is that it doesn't just stop at activating at the schools, but it has to grow throughout the system to make the change even bigger and more important for everyone. Thank you so much for recognizing these ideas and these solutions that the youth comes up with, because they can too bring climate solutions to the table. And we are definitely not tapping into their creativity. I hear a lot of interesting concepts, a lot of seeds that are being planted for action. I would like to hear what is the main challenge each of you comes across when trying to go out there and expand a program like Young Innovators and expand support for youth and expand the partnerships that you are taking on. What is the main challenge you encounter? Luise, would you like to share a challenge, if there is any?
I think a challenge that mainly our partners, as they are the key delivery, that the ones delivering the program, are facing is approaching teachers. We all know they are very busy, specifically in the last 1.5 years. It has been harder for our partners really getting into schools, although they all recognize there is this demand from their students, and they also want to do something about this. It was just kind of the lack of time. I would say this was one of the major challenges, and this is why I really like what Gonza said, that the ministry is really behind this, and I would like this to become a blueprint for other countries as well, that they really embed this innovation systems thinking, challenge-led approach in the curricula, and really leave time for teachers for this, be it project work or just embed this in the various subjects they are teaching and working on. Another challenge I would see it's not a challenge. It's just kind of a task that we are facing. There's a lot of organizations out there that are focusing on sustainability education, and what we are bringing in is this systems innovation approach. How can we embed this in other in our partnerships? How can we embed this? We know the Eco Schools network is really big, and we see a lot of partners are collaborating with these Eco Schools, which is great. So how can we scale? How can we scale this across the globe?
Thank you, Luise.
Yes.
Key messages from you involving the ministries, how to overcome that challenge, and getting these parts of the program into already established networks. Gonza, what is the key challenge that you encounter when orchestrating all the action that you are taking on in Malta?
Well, there is a challenge of orchestrating. It requires a lot of work and trust in the system that starts with that. But what I have seen this year, as Luisa mentioned, time was a big challenge. But more than that, our partners, actually Ministry for Education, they came to us and they like, this program is amazing, but this is still voluntary. And in the recent panel also about youth action as part of our Climate on campaign, it came up again. I think there should be a compulsory part in the curriculum supporting systems innovation thinking. Because as I said, more than the green skills, more than the technical sustainability education, I think the system thinking and this challenge-led methodology needs to be part of the curriculum. And they really would like to introduce this in the upcoming years and to make it a kind of a mandatory part of the curriculum. And it has been also requested from the youth themselves that they would like to see this as part of the curriculum. And I think that is one of the things that we should do. But more than that, I think we need more dialogue. We need to see more examples. We need to do more piloting and assess the things and increase the amount of pilots, actually. That will help them to see the benefits of it. And not only, as I said, not only the pilots, because sometimes, okay, we are giving hope, we are giving skills, but if there is not enough structure to support that, then the failure can be a little bit of, discouraging. But there's so much knowledge out there. There's so much interest and a lot of material. We just need to bring them together and then start working together and then take best pieces out of it and then working together, basically.
Thank you, Gonza. It's really interesting. Here, there is a key stakeholder that we are surfacing around, which are the teachers. And let me share with you that this week I have been interviewing live on our Instagram channel 2 teachers that fully agree with you. They need the support and they need the time and the structure to bring climate innovation into the classroom, and that needs to come also from the ministries around in Europe. So here we have a really clear call to action for our governments out there. Now, I am interested in hearing from Salvatore. What is the challenge that you encounter the most, Salvatore, when doing your research? How does any action around you helps or hinders the development of your research?
Yeah. So, well, many of the things that Luisa was mentioning resonate a lot with the work I've been doing here. And essentially, it's very challenging to get teachers on board, different from the students. Students are always full of enthusiasm and free time. So teachers are very overwhelmed, and especially the last 1 year has been particularly heavy, while the beginning of the pandemic was some sort of that we don't know exactly what is going to happen, and there was a time when there was a lot of interest around these online training programs, but after 1 year, I can definitely see a sense of fatigue coming from being exposed to probably many of these online activities. And so eventually it was much more difficult to engage the teachers. So I think I agree with what was said before. We should definitely give a lot of support, structure, meaning also finance to this type of programs in order for them to scale up. There is a number of initiatives that I can mention and I can see coming up. But there is also a risk that all these activities will remain fragmented. And what we need to do is really to take on large-scale demonstration projects and try to learn and try to adjust all the time. Sustainability science is not something which is in a way precise. It's something we are doing in order to learn and understand the problems we are facing. One thing also is that sustainability science is very good at understanding, framing the problems, but cannot really give us a sense of what is going to happen in the future. So what we need to do is to definitely work on our imaginary, work on a common collective vision starting from the youth or with input of youth. So when we study sustainability, transformation, we always say that we have to change, but we don't ask too often the question, change towards what? Or what is expected from us to be the future, or what is the future we want to become? So that process, that work of imagining or reimagining our future, visioning, needs to be done, and needs to be done in a creative way, where we have all the stakeholders, including the policymakers. Policymakers actually should work closely with young people in creating this future. So what is the future we desire? We have certain facts, scientific facts, which tell us that we need to change, but then it's really very much up to us. What is the future we want to have? And the D Game, for example, is a project trying to bring in this understanding that we need to build a shared vision. And so I hope we can overcome difficulties in understanding this key element, that we have to do it together. So it's not our politicians necessarily who have to lead the process. Definitely they have a very, very special role. And today, with the starting of COP26, we hope that this sense of doing it together may be really felt in the heart and the minds of the people who are going to take very important decisions for us. So I hope that we can overcome this obstacle, that is just the experts who have to throw in their ideas, or just the policymakers who have to do their plans for the future. I hope we will be able to imagine, dream, create this desired future together.
Thank you, Salvatore. We are reaching towards the end of this discussion. It has been extremely rich, extremely deep into understanding the ecosystem, an ecosystem like the Maltese ecosystem, understanding what a concrete program is achieving out there with teachers and students, and research. Research is super important for us to know whether we are on the right path, whether we are tackling the right types of behaviors or the right types of actions out there. I would like to bring your attention to a very important message that I would like you to deliver for the people making decisions in the next 2 weeks at COP, for the people that you may want to or you work with in your current ecosystem. Why is it that right now we should engage with youth, and why should we bring youth on board onto the discussion and use their ideas and use their imagination and use their creativity into our daily decision making when it comes to climate change. Do you have one key message for one stakeholder that you want to deliver? What about you, Luise? Luise, I will
Sorry,
repeat the question. Yes.
I was thinking about this, and kind of a key message. I have maybe two key messages. One key message for youth is really keep pushing, keep challenging the ecosystem, keep pushing for making your voice heard, and really become an active player within the ecosystem, and in democratic decision making processes. And also use your voice as a consumer. I think that's really really important. Kind of a key message for those that wanna join the community in either funding the program or becoming an active partner in the program. Come to us. Join the community. It's a very active and lively community, and you can really make a difference in your local ecosystem. So pilot what Gonza said, test things out, adapt this to the local context, and really help work on concrete challenges to engage the ecosystem around you, to help kind of speed up the process and make a difference.
Gonza, what would be your key message, call to action out there, perhaps to the Maltese ecosystem, perhaps global?
As Zuza said, we really need to speed up the process, and it should be the part of the curriculum, and we need to pilot more. And one other thing is that there is a very key role also industry plays in this. So I think the future industries and where we are going, and they also need innovation. They also need innovative minds joining them. And this is also a very good investment for their future workforce. So I think they should also collaborate with the governments and with the players, and get themselves engaged and then sponsor these initiatives. I think, and I mean, helping the financing these initiatives more in the government, because we cannot also expect everything coming from government or EU funds and everything. We really need more support and finance these initiatives.
You have heard from Gonza, industry players out there, companies, corporates, get on board, supporting youth. Youth needs you. They will be the future consumers and the future employees in your companies. What about you, Salvatore? What is your key message, call to action?
Yes, definitely call to action. But we need to also have what we call informed agitators, So we need people with skills, competencies, who have been truly empowered by our educational institutions. So it's a call to action also on our side, so on the side of the researchers, on the side of institutional education system that has to provide the mindset, the right mindset for this transformation to take place. I know there are many colleagues are working on this. There are many initiatives, but we really need to put more of our heart into this, because yes, we have we need to scale up. At this stage, we need really to scale up. And to the policymakers, I would say that yeah, it's not easy to be a policymaker. That's really what oftentimes emerges. But I would say that tensions and protest will not go away. We probably didn't see much of this because of the health crisis, the COVID crisis over the last 2 years. But there is still a lot of tension. There's a lot of unsatisfaction around these issues that will definitely emerge in the future. So in the future, we need to really reinvent our governance models. We need to think about new governance models, and policymakers need to really have the courage to do these choices. So to transform the way how we govern such complex issues. It's not just about only the companies. Also, companies do play a very, very important role. I agree with my colleague that they should definitely invest in this. They should pay attention to this. But again, I do believe this is not just one actor challenge. It's really all the actors, all the key stakeholders have to have the courage to come together, overcome their sometimes sectorial way of looking at problems and think beyond it, and have the courage to imagine that future we decide for our children.
Thank you, everyone. A lot of courage to the three of you. I think we all need it to continue this work. And we have heard a really rich set of findings, like true actions that we can scale and duplicate out there. We have also heard about really important indicators that this works. So partners out there, come and reach out to Luise, Salvatore, and Gonza and expand the partnership, scale the program, bring climate action into the classrooms. I think that I will leave that as a key message from this session. And I would like to thank you, the three of you, for being with us on an early morning Sunday and share a really rich set of insights and experiences. And we hope to see you again in the next months and to follow what is happening with the Young Innovators program. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, now we are concluding the week-long of climate action. We have been seeing all sorts of actions being taken out there in the world, from an idea to a startup. We have been exploring different solutions from all over the world, from Latin America, from Africa, from Asia, from Europe. All over, we can see that people are doing different activities, they are innovating in different ways to tackle climate change. Now, I'll leave you with the task of finding your own way of tackling climate change, and stay in tune with EIT Climate-KIC, and in the next weeks, taking action, raise your voice, trying to be heard for during the UN Climate Conference. Thank you to everyone, and we will be seeing you for more of climate innovation in the next months.